So in my last video, I went over my thoughts and predictions on the Eastern Conference and its standings, and now it's time to talk about the Western Conference. So first I'm going to go into what I expect from every Western Conference team this season, and then after I'm going to predict the standings for the Western Conference. The Warriors are in one of the weirdest situations in the NBA where they only have an okay roster around Stephen Curry and too many questions on who's to lead them after the Curry era. Could it be Jonathan Kuminga that's definitely shown the potential to be a star, though it hasn't translated to consistent on-court production? Or could it be Brandon Badensky that has potential coming off of a good rookie season? But for now in this season, the Warriors have made the necessary replacements in acquiring Buddy Hield for Klay Thompson, as well as adding high IQ players in DeAnthony Melton and Kyle Anderson. The Warriors' overall problem would be their roster fit, as having most of their guards in a lineup with Curry will cause defensive issues in the backcourt, as well as the front court being crowded with forwards with below shooting averages. And this can cause the Warriors to be in another situation where they're just fighting for a play-in spot. The Kings had a disappointing season, finishing outside the playoffs after making it a season before as a third seed, but they made some significant moves, re-signing Malik Monk and trading for DeMar DeRozan. It doesn't look like the Kings are done in acquiring more talent, as they're still rumored for acquiring more players during the season, but I don't think I emphasized this enough when talking about the Kings before. But even though the Kings are already one of the best offensive teams in the league, they struggle defensively. Yes, DeMar DeRozan replacing Harrison Barnes is a good upgrade, and their offense might improve marginally, but overlooking their defense is something I don't understand for the Kings. So the Kings are still contenders to make the playoffs for what they could do offensively with De'Aaron Fox and Malik Monk in the open court, as well as adding DeMar DeRozan in the half court. But they will always stay outside of the top west to me due to them being limited on the defensive end. Now this will be the second full season of the Durant, Booker, and Beal trio in Phoenix, and though these players are talented and could be one of the best offenses in the league, there's not a lot of hype around them making it far into the playoffs. Other than the top teams in the West being a matchup problem for the Suns, the main reason why they are not being looked at as true contenders is their roster's overall depth. They did improve their point guard position from having no point guard to a low-end starting point guard in Tyus Jones, but the Suns will have to heavily rely on their offense, as they won't be able to stop any playoff caliber team on defense. Though it may be difficult, the offensive trio should be able to bring the Suns to the playoffs again this season. The Los Angeles Lakers come into this season with little to no improvements on the roster, though with the aging LeBron and Anthony Davis that are coming off an impressive Olympics run, I see the Lakers finishing in the middle of the pack of the West when it comes to regular season standings. The hope now for the Lakers to exceed expectations though is their roster getting better with more chemistry, as well as new coach JJ Redick improving their game plan that was noticeably lacking in their first round series last season against the Nuggets. It must be really nerve-wracking as a Clippers fan going into this season, as it's going to start with an injured Kawhi Leonard that's going to be out due to knee swelling, the same knee swelling that took him out in the playoffs last season. With the departure of Paul George, the Clippers are now hoping for other players to step up like Norman Powell and Terrence Mann, and hoping some free agency pickups will hit like Kevin Porter Jr. and Kai Jones. But with how competitive the West is right now, an injured Kawhi playing around 50 to 60 games, and an aging James Harden who could still ball, but probably won't be able to carry a team like he did compared to his days in Houston, I think it will be very difficult for them to be a top 5 seed like the season prior. The Trailblazers this year are going to be in serious contention for a first pick, as the rotation of Anthony Simons, Scoot Henderson, and Shaedon Sharpe in the backcourt, a solid big man in DeAndre Ayton, and a journeyman scorer like Jeremy Grant isn't going to cut it in a packed West like this. The only positive for Portland right now is that the past 2 offseasons they've made a lot of moves to give themselves a solid rebuilding team with young assets for the future. The Utah Jazz look to continue their rebuild this season as a team consisting of star Lauri Markkanen and good performing starters like Colin Sexton and Walker Kessler won't be able to win too much games overall this season. Though the Jazz do have players that can make a leap this season like Taylor Hendricks or Keontae George, I still don't think it will be enough for the Jazz to win consistently this season. It's hard to say where the Timberwolves stand at the top of the West after receiving Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo for Karl-Anthony Towns. Though with Anthony Edwards leading the way on offense and Rudy Gobert leading on defense, the Timberwolves will compete for the first seed. There could be a concern with the Timberwolves in the playoffs just because of how Julius Randle will fit in this lineup overall. Randle will be a good scoring option for the Minnesota Timberwolves, but I just don't know if he could space the floor like Cat did a season ago, and this could lead to problems offensively for the Timberwolves. The Denver Nuggets come into this season looking for their young players off the bench to make a leap, as other than Russell Westbrook, the Denver Nuggets couldn't really make any moves due to their limited cap space. They also recently lost Kentavious Caldwell-Pope in free agency, so they're looking for Christian Braun to step up as a solid 3-and-D player. The Nuggets, though, are still set to be the top of the West with Nikola Jokic and the rest of the starters all healthy to start the season. The Oklahoma City Thunder are in the best situation of any team as they enter the season as finals contenders while all the main players are still young and developing, and also they still have the best draft capital of any team. This Thunder team can now compete for a championship this season while still improving as years go on, as they are set to be a powerhouse in the West. And speaking of powerhouses, a former powerhouse in the San Antonio Spurs are setting themselves up for another run with Victor Wembanyama as their franchise player. I won't be surprised, however, if Victor makes that big leap this season and veterans like Chris Paul and Harrison Barnes that they added this offseason puts them in contention to make a possible play-in seed. Now with the Grizzlies starting lineup coming back healthy with John Morant, Desmond Bane, Marcus Smart, and Jaren Jackson all dealing with significant injuries the season before. However, there will be some notable players off the bench like Vince Williams and Gigi Jackson that will be out to start the season, but the Grizzlies have enough depth to remain playoff contenders until Williams and Jackson are back. So this will all be a big test for the Grizzlies to see how they fare in an improved Western Conference from the 2 seasons prior where they were the 2nd seed. The Rockets come into the season improved and ready to compete for a playoff spot under Ime Udoka. Alfred Sengun will look to take another leap alongside Jalen Green and Jabari Smith, and with veterans Fred VanVleet to help run the offense and bring toughness, as well as Dillon Brooks to guard the opponent's best players, the Rockets starting lineup looks very solid. The Rockets will also have young IQ guards off the bench in Reed Shepherd and Amen Thompson, as well as Cam Whitmore who could score in bunches. So if everybody can get on the same page and perform efficiently at the same time, the sky is the limit for the Rockets. This Pelicans team revolves around the health of Zion this year, as he has yet to play a playoff game for the team. In that series last season without Zion, the Pelicans weren't really able to be competitive, as this led to an offseason to improve the team again in trading for DeJounte Murray. In doing this, the Pelicans added a natural point guard with upside alongside CJ McCollum in the backcourt, but the Pelicans still have a big hole at center with their only notable player being Daniel Theis. And I'm just not sure how successful the Pelicans can be without good center depth in the Western Conference. Now for the Western Conference champion Dallas Mavericks, they enter the season with high hopes making the playoffs again with Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving leading the way. They made some moves and signings like Najee Marshall for defense and spacing, but their biggest move would be signing Klay Thompson in hopes that he could be an upgrade from shooter Tim Hardaway Jr. and hoping that Klay can have better days than his final days as a Warrior. The road back to the finals for the Mavericks will be harder, as it could be very easy for these teams at the top of the West to find a bad matchup in the first round, as the Mavericks have been no stranger to that happening in the past. So this is the standings that I have for the West, and it's really hard to rank these teams as there's so much good teams in the West. So to start off with the bottom 3 teams, I have the Trailblazers, the Spurs, and the Jazz, and all are rebuilding teams right now and have the right rosters and front office to contend in the future. Now for this tier in the standings, this was the most difficult to rank because of the fact of how many teams can really make the playoffs. So now to start with the 12th and 11th seed, I got the Warriors and the Clippers not making it to the playoffs, and I think every team above them just has a better roster all around than the Warriors and the Clippers. And now with older players like Curry and Draymond, as well as Kawhi and Harden on the Clippers, it's just going to be harder for them to consistently compete for 82 games with their rosters lacking like they are right now. Now for the Kings and Rockets, I have them as the play-in teams, and I have them there due to their good offenses. I expect the Rockets' young players to make a jump this season, but I think it's going to be their experience overall that won't bring them to a playoff spot this season. And with the Kings, I think their defense is going to be a big problem during the regular season, though I could still see them having a chance to make the playoffs through the play-in because of the one-game winner-go-home situation. Now for spots 5 to 8, I have the Grizzlies, the Suns, the Lakers, and the Pelicans. For the Grizzlies being the 5th seed, I have them reverting back to their old ways in 2023, playing really good basketball this season. And for the Suns at 6, I expect their top talent to carry them throughout the season. For the Lakers case at 7, it's going to be hard to stop a team led by LeBron and AD from making the playoffs. And for the Pelicans as an 8th seed, they'll be able to stride for the rest of the season once they're fully healthy. And I just want to state again that all of these teams from 5 to 12 are very likely going to be within a couple of games within each other near the end of the season. But now for the top 4, I got the Thunder, the Nuggets, the Mavericks, and the Timberwolves. And I think with the Timberwolves, they'll fall out of the top 3 due to some struggles that they may have in finding the right lineups and adjustments after the Julius Randle trade. Now for seeds 2 and 3, I think it will be the Nuggets and the Mavericks fighting for the 2 seed, with the Nuggets finishing slightly above the Mavericks. And OKC finishing as the 1st seed, as they're going to be one of, if not the most consistent team this season. So these are my thoughts and predictions on the Western Conference. If you think I have a team too high or too low in the standings, or if you have any hot take for this upcoming season, let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'm out.